It's Christian, Vancouver Realtor. Now, I want to talk to you today about risky behaviors in the real estate market. The 3 risky behaviors that could get you in a lot of hot water, that could cause you to blow yourself up. And we don't want to go there. And so these are the 3 things that I've noticed the most, especially the first one, which we're going to jump into in a moment. And you got to be aware we're in a different market right now. Obviously, things are slowing down. The interest rates have been climbing at a pace we haven't seen in 20 to 30 years, right? 75 basis point increases. If you have a variable interest rate mortgage, this is a whole new ballgame. But here's the 3 things I want to focus on. The first one is buying before you've sold your current place. I got a call recently from a couple, and they said, there's construction going on outside our building. They're going to be building this big social housing tower, and we don't want to deal with the construction noise. So we want to hightail it out of here. We want to buy a nice place, and once we've got a place, sell this one. Doesn't work that way unless you're able to qualify with a bank and carry 2 mortgages at the same time. You definitely don't want to do it that way. You would want to sell first. And remember, once you've sold first, we know exactly how much money you're going to get from your sale. So we have a sort of a self-imposed salary cap. We know how much you can afford to buy. Very important that those numbers are crystallized for us. And this couple was putting the cart before the horse, wanting to buy something because they just wanted to get the hell out of there. And that's not really a good idea, because imagine we went into some choppy waters. We ran into some turbulence, and you've bought a place and you're going to close on your place on August the 1st. Now you're scrambling. And it's very stressful to get ready for a sale when you're scrambling. You're putting things in storage, you're cleaning everything up, you're calling in the cleaners, you're maybe selling stuff on Craigslist. Like, it's go, go, go. You're trying to get you're trying to get yourself ready for the sale. Then we got to get the photographers in there, we got to get your place listed, and then we got to get an accepted offer just so that you can qualify for the bridge financing, right? Because if your place hasn't sold by August the 1st, we need a bridge, and the bank will lend that to you as long as you have an accepted offer. But what if you don't have an accepted offer? Well, then you're not going to qualify for that. And the big chartered banks, the TDs, RBCs, they may not lend you a bridge loan. So now what you're doing is you're going to a private lender. And those interest rates, let me tell you, start at 7-8%. So that's not a good place to be. And a lot of people will say, you know what, I can handle the risk. I can handle it, Christian. And I recall, I'll give you a short story. I remember meeting with a young couple. This was about 2 years ago, and 2.5 years ago. And the wife was a lawyer, and the husband, he worked for himself. And she said, "Oh, you know what? I'm good. I can handle it. My risk tolerance is very high because I deal with this on a daily basis." Oh, very good. The husband was kind of sheepish, and he thought, well, I got to go along with it. And so we went and bought a home first. And of course, their bank draft, their 5% earnest money, their skin in the game was in the game. And now we got their home ready and we put it on the market. Well, guess what? It wasn't so straightforward. Those waters got choppy. That air got turbulent. And all of a sudden, we didn't get an offer that first weekend. In fact, we didn't have it after 3 weekends. And I was furiously showing this unit to anybody who called and expressed an interest. And finally, after about a month, we got an accepted offer, and we were able to line up those closing dates. But I recall a couple of late night phone calls with that same lady lawyer. She was all of a sudden sweating bullets. She was having trouble sleeping at night. And I don't want that for you. So I'm going to suggest and strongly suggest that if you are looking to make a move, a hurried move, that you list your place first and sell it, and then you know exactly how much you're getting, and then you go ahead and make a buy. You go and purchase thereafter. It's better if you had a choice between two evils, meaning carrying two mortgages or doing two moves. Which would you rather not have? Most people will tell you, I'd rather not try and carry two mortgages and have one of them be at a 7% interest rate. You don't want to do that. So what you're going to do is you want to go ahead, sell first. If you have to sell fast, that's better to do that. And then get a long close and then buy something in the meantime. It's going to be a lot easier for you. And because going the private interest mortgage route is not going to be fun. Remember, and it's not just the 7-8%. When you're getting what's called a MIC, a private investment corporation, and so they will charge you 1 to 2% on the loan amount itself. So if you're getting a $600,000 loan, you may be paying $12,000 up front just for the privilege of borrowing that money. So let's get your place listed first and sold, and then we will buy on the buy side. The second risky behavior I see in this market is, and most common, is buyers who buy pre-sales without the ability to close on them. So the other way to call this is speculation. That's purely what it is. I mean, if you're buying a pre-sale for $1 million, and I had someone call me a couple of years ago who had bought a $1.5 million pre-sale in the height of the frenzy of 2017, where, you know, we saw pre-sales downtown selling for $1,500 a square foot. This is 5 years ago. And, you know, I mean, he was full of stress, very nervous, sweating bullets, almost every week, asking me if there was any possible way we could find a buyer for this pre-sale. Well, let me tell you, assigning a unit nowadays is almost next to impossible, because a lot of the developers will not let you put the pre-sale on the public market. I can't list it on the MLS like I can a resale unit. So I have to literally work a private network of clients or other realtors I know who dabble heavily in the assignment market. And I may call 50 or 100 or 150 realtors. So that is basically leveraging my personal network. Even then, it's not an easy chore. Now, what happens when we move forward to closing? In this instance, this gentleman was nervous that he couldn't qualify for a mortgage through one of the chartered banks, and again, he would need to go through the private lending route. Again, you're looking at 7-8% interest rates, and you're looking at 1 to 2% fees up front for the mortgage amount. So if you're taking $1 million mortgage, you're looking at a $10,000 to $20,000 fee just to get started. So that's just not a good way to go. I've seen that in the past where someone has, generally people will not walk away from their deposit, because at that point once you get to closing, you've already put 20% down payment. I mean, that's over $200,000. So you'd be crazy to walk away from that. No one's going to do that. However, I've seen them close and then just, furiously try to sell the unit on the MLS right after the pre-sale has closed. Even then, it's not so easy to do today, because you're looking at a GST charge where because the unit is still new, Canada Revenue Agency, CRA, may charge a GST. Normally, it's on the difference. So if you bought it for 1.5 and you're selling it for 1.7 million, they may charge another 5% on that $200,000 difference. But it's not always. I've heard cases from some lawyers where they will charge on the full amount. So there's a lot of moving parts to that. And it's just a very risky behavior to buy any kind of pre-sale in this market, especially with interest rates so unknown. And now the word in the grapevine is you're seeing more and more that, I've heard of a couple of instances where developers are putting in an inflation escalator clause, meaning if you were to buy a condo for $1 million, they are putting in a term that says if inflation is at XYZ percent, we get to raise the price on you, dear buyer, at the completion date by another 5%. So now you're paying not 1 million, but $1,050,000 plus GST on top of that. Plus you don't know what kind of an interest rate you're dealing with in this environment. If it closes 12 months from now. So very important that you know that you qualify for your mortgage with a pre-sale upon closing. And so if you change jobs between now and 2 years when it's closing, you have to make sure that you qualify for the whatever mortgage you need then. So a lot of unknowns there. And if I think pre-sales is probably not the best option, not to mention the fact that they're just out. The prices are in the nosebleeds. Certainly if you're looking at anything in the downtown area, a little more affordable if you're going out to Burnaby, Coquitlam, and Surrey, but even there, it's still quite expensive. So that's the unknown there with pre-sales. The third risky behavior that I see from buyers, and this is again people just not knowing what they're getting into, and this is often would-be investors wanting to buy their very first project. So they want to buy a fixer-upper, get a contractor in there, fix it, and flip it. You know what? That's great for American TV shows. I don't know how good that is in reality. And I think it's best for and I had an example I'll share with you where a couple of years ago I sold a 2-bedroom, and the seller was a young man, and he and his father were electricians, and they were very handy. They liked to fix homes up, and they did all the electrical. Obviously they had contacts in trades, so plumbers that would come on site, and maybe they had contacts with suppliers so they could get cheaper flooring and other material. In this market right now, if you're doing that, you're hiring a contractor, you're paying them $60, $80 an hour. I know that's what I was paying when I hired a contractor myself. And it might be more in this environment, and it's so hard to get contractors out on site because I've called and I've got another project coming up, and the first thing the contractor tells me, I'm available in October, and here we are in June. So that is one thing you're dealing with, that time constraint that's added onto your project. Then there's just the budget constraint. I just saw a client today. Here we are in July of 2022, and he was hoping to do this 2-bedroom, 2-bed, 2-bath reno for $45,000, and he realized quickly it's going to cost him $100,000 just because of labor, supplies, and so on. And if you're adding that much onto it, and then you're turning around and flipping it, I don't know how much money you're going to make doing that. I think that's best left for the kind of the son and dad team I just explained to you, where they have a lot of experience. They do this. They live inside the unit while they're fixing it up, and then a year, 2, 3 years down the road, they put it on the market and they sell it, and that makes a whole lot of sense. I certainly wouldn't recommend a fix and flip. I just think it's really hard to make money on it, especially in a declining market. I'll finish with a short story. I had a renovator once, a flipper once, tell me, Christian, I've thought about it, and when I look back at the last few projects I've done, I might as well have just bought the place, left it empty, and rode the market up, and then sold it. and because I think that's how I made the most money. I didn't need to put a lot of money into the actual project. So it definitely fixing and flipping definitely gets romanticized on American television with different home improvement shows and so on. But I personally would probably stay away from it unless you're doing this with a buddy who is in the industry and does that kind of work. So the 3 risky behaviors are buying before you've sold your place in an uncertain market like this one. Second is buying pre-sales, not knowing whether you have the financing in place to be able to complete. And third is fixing and flipping in this market. I wouldn't recommend it at all. So if that helps, I certainly hope it does. Feel free to leave some comments, your own experiences below, or give us a thumbs up. We do appreciate it, and hope to see you next time. Bye now.